Hello and welcome back to the Infinite Ascension Dev Diaries. It's been a little bit more than a year since my last video. I'm hoping to get these back on a regular schedule. Today I'm going to show you a couple things that changed overall in the game and then really focus on the rockets, which is one of the new weapon types that I've added since my last video. So to start us off, you can see the game is now in widescreen. This is pretty much just for YouTube. The aspect ratio is actually completely configurable. You can do basically whatever resolution the 3D engine will allow. You notice there's some UI discrepancies now with the text formatting. When I did the widescreen switch, I noticed that there was some errors in the way I was rendering my text using the UI API, and in my fixing that, I evidently also caused all of these sizes to change. So some of the text will be squished or stretched depending on its particular font usage. I've also started to use a new input system. I was previously using Pygame, which is a 2D game API for Python, which on Windows anyway, you can use a window handle to that and embed Ogre inside of it. It was handling all of my input and basic game loop functionality. That has since been removed as it does not function on Mac OS X. Basically, you cannot get a window handle from the Pygame API, which means Ogre can't draw to a window because it doesn't know which window to draw it on. So now to the rockets. Prior to the inclusion of rockets, there were two basic projectile types in Infinite Ascension. There was a linear projectile type that was fired in a straight line. It had a constant velocity or a constantly accelerating velocity such that the client was able to properly calculate its path. The second was a missile type, which was a guided or dynamic path projectile, which the server would calculate based on its target and its available acceleration. Rockets are sort of a combination of both. They have a seemingly dynamic path in that they have a curved path rather than a linear path. However, they do not require any updating from the server except for creation and death, rather than missiles, which require updates during their existence in order to keep the client and server in sync as to their position. So as you can see, rockets fire. They have a curved path. They have a seemingly random nature. However, based on some simple calculations that I've made, I'm able to create this effect without causing any strain on either performance of the game on the client side or the networking messages sent between the client and the server. Keeping those levels down is going to be crucial in order if I want to have larger battles. Every little bit that I have to send is a bit that I'm not sending some other piece of data for. So rockets can add some visual flair to the game, add a little bit more randomness than the other projectile types, and really not cost me a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. So that was basically the idea behind why rockets should be brought into the game. Now, the how they're being added to the game. The way I've implemented rockets uses three pieces of information in order to create each rocket's path. The rockets themselves are basically just simple projectiles. They do a point collision against any either ship or collidable object. Now I'll turn on debugging so you can see the paths the rockets are using as they fire. The basis for these paths are Hermite curves, which can be created via a mathematical function which allows you to specify an incoming slope and point and an outgoing slope and point. For more detailed information on Hermite curves, I'll include some links in the sidebar with specifics on how you can implement them. The second ingredient in the rocket recipe is to add a distance to the normalized Hermite curve, which is the result of the Hermite function. This will allow even similar Hermite curves to look different by stretching or squishing the actual path the projectile will follow. Now, in order to determine different speeds for projectiles, I've added a time, which is the time it takes the projectile to traverse its entire path. This allows me to increase or decrease speeds of projectiles in also a random fashion, again to give a better look to the final product, which is what we really want is rockets to be firing off crazily, going every which way, exploding, hopefully freaking everyone out. And that's it. Those three variables create the rockets you will see in Infinite Ascension.